Good morning, student. Class 10th, chapter number 6, political parties. We were studying challenges to political party, page number 83. What are the different challenges which the political parties are facing today? The first challenge is lack of internal democracy. All over the world, there is a tendency in political parties toward the concentration of power in one or few leaders at the top. Means the power is concentrated in a handful of ministers at the top, whereas the active member of the political party who is working at the bottom, the smallest unit, is neglected. His views or his ideas are not even paid any type of attention, whereas the power remains in the hands of a couple of senior leaders. Parties do not keep the membership register, do not hold organizational meetings, and do not conduct internal elections regularly. They don't maintain the register in which the names of all political units, members, their names are registered there. And time to time, the organizational meetings are held in which each and every unit is given importance, every member is given importance. The elections, moreover, the elections within the political party are not held, are not organized. Ordinary member of the party do not get sufficient information on what is happening inside the party, whereas the active member of the political party do not know what is going on inside the political party or amongst the senior most leaders. They do not have the means or the connections needed to influence the decision. They don't have any role in decision making process. As a result, the leaders assume greater power to make decisions in the name of the party. Since one or few leaders exercise paramount power in the party, those who disagree with the leadership finds it difficult to continue in the party. All the important decisions are finalized by the senior most members, and there is no role to play by the smaller leaders, by the leaders, those who are working as a members, ordinary members. More than loyalty to the party principles and policies, personal loyalty to the leaders becomes more important. And therefore, if a ordinary member felt alienated from the main political party, he do then cross the floor and join another political party. The second challenge of dynastic succession is related to the first one. The second important challenge in front of the political party is the dynastic succession. Means one after the another, the senior most members of the political parties are succeeded by their own relatives and relatives. And the ordinary members don't have any chance to come to the senior most level. Since most political parties do not practice open and transparent procedure for their functioning, there are very few ways for an ordinary workers to rise to the top in the party. As a result, the ordinary member of the political party don't have any chance to come above. Those who happen to be the leaders are in the position of unfair advantage to favor people close to them or even their family members. And those who are most powerful, the above handful of leaders, they are succeeded by their own relatives and friends, or benefits are given to the relatives and friends. In many parties, the top positions are always controlled by the members of one family. This is unfair to other members of that party. This is also bad for democracy since people who don't have any adequate experience or popular support comes to occupy the position of power. Even if the family member of a political party don't have any experience, don't have any knowledge about politics, are there in the are ruling, are enjoying the highest portfolios in the political parties, whereas a capable member, an experienced member, senior member is neglected. That disencourage that political leader, that senior most political leader who is alienated, who feel that he is alienated, who feel that he is neglected, is forced to join another political party. This tendency is present in some measures all over the world, including in some of the older democracies. The third challenge is about the growing role of money and muscle power. The use of power and money. During elections, it is common, it is observed during the time of elections, the use of money and muscle power, especially during elections. Since parties are focused only on winning elections, they tend to use shortcut to win elections. They use all hooks and crooks to win the election, to use the muscle power, to use the strength, to use the manpower or money. Rich people and companies who give funds to the parties tends to have influence on the policies and decision of the party. It is present, it is going on. The rich business houses, they do manipulate the political parties in the decision making process because they provide large amount of funds which is to be used during the time of election, and the political party, they do take all the decisions which ought to give advantage to the big business houses. Rich people and companies who give funds to the parties tends to have influence on the political and decision of the party. In some cases, parties support criminals who can win elections. Criminalization of the politics, that is what you call. Democrats all over the world are worried about the increasing role of rich people and big companies in democratic political parties. And it is posing a danger to the democracy that rich people, big business houses, they are manipulating indirectly to the managing of the government, the functions of the government, the decisions of the government in their favor. The fourth challenge is that very often parties do not seem to offer a meaningful choice to the voters. The two political parties are there. The third one is not emerging. That is, there is no choice left with the voters to whom they are to whom they are willing to give vote, cast their vote. In order to offer meaningful choice, party must be significantly different. In recent years, there has been a decline in ideologies differences among the political parties, most parts in the world. For example, the difference between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party in Britain is very little. Their ideologies do not differ from one another, almost they are same. Therefore, the voters don't have any meaningful choice to whom they are going to cast their vote. They agree on more fundamental aspects but differ only in details on how policies are to be framed and implemented. In our country too, the differences among all major parties on the economic policies have reduced. Those who want really different politics have no option available to them. Sometimes people cannot even elect a very different leaders, either because the same set of leaders keep shifting from one party to the another, because there is no any new leader who is coming in front, but the same faces are moving from one political party to another, from another to another, and therefore people, they are in confusion to whom they are going to cast their vote, to whom they are going to support in the elections. They are not left with any meaningful choice. How can parties be reformed? Whatever these challenges are there, how the parties are going to reform, what are the different methods by which we are going to refine the functions of the political party. reforms them, whatever challenges are there, whatever disadvantages are, how to stop them, how to check these political parties, working of the political parties, what are the methods to reform the political parties. In order to face these challenges, what are the steps taken? In order to face these challenges, political parties need to be reformed. There is a scope of reformation, correction in the functioning of political parties. The question is, are political parties willing to reform? If they are willing, what has prevented them from reforming so far? If they are not willing, it is possible to force them to reform. Is it possible to force them to reform? They are the wholesale workers, they are the wholesale managers of the country. Therefore, whose advice they are going to take to reform? If they are willing themselves at the bottom of their soul, then who stops them to correct themselves? If they are willing, they can do anything. They can reform, they can come on the correct lines, they can go on the correct methods, managing the country, running the country government in honest and correct and fair way. Citizens all over the world face this question. This is not a simple question to answer. In a democracy, the final decision is made by the leaders who represent political parties. If they are willing, if they wish to reform themselves, nobody can stop them. The need of the hour is, the urgent requirement is, are they willing to reform? People can replace them, but only by another set of political party leaders. If all of them do not wish to reform, how can anyone force them to change? Let us look at some of the recent efforts and suggestions in our country to reform political parties and its leaders. There are some steps taken to reform the political parties. All these reforms are meaningless until and unless the political parties are willing. The constitution was amended to prevent elected MLAs and MPs from changing the political parties. The party which is strong, the political parties joins them. This was done because many elected representatives were indulging in defection. In defection in order to become ministers or for cash rewards. Defection means changing the political parties on the basis of power. Whichever party is powerful, the political leaders join that particular party in order to win elections. And to check that, anti-defection law was passed. Now the law says that if any MLA or MP changes parties, or he or she will lose the seat in the legislature. This is only in the documents, but it is not implemented practically anywhere. This is a new law that helped bringing defection down. At the same time, this has made any dissent even more difficult. MPs and MLAs have to accept whatever the party leaders decide. The Supreme Court, this is the second one, the second reform. The first reform was the anti-defection law was passed in the parliament so as to check the MPs or MLAs from changing the parties from one political party to the another in order to win election and gain power. The Supreme Court passed in order to reduce the influence of money and criminals. Now, it is made mandatory for every candidate who contests election to file a return. File an affidavit. It is to be mentioned there, affidavit. To file an affidavit, that affidavit is a document of court. It is a legal document in which the political party, political leader accepts and he agrees and he declares what is the income, what is the property, what is the amount of the property, what is the cash balance, bank balance, how many vehicles he is having. Everything he has to clear which is concerning with his income. Giving full detail of his property and criminal cases pending against him. If any criminal case is pending against him, he is not allowed to fight the election. He cannot enter any political party as an active member. The new system has made a lot of information available to the public, but there is no system of check if the information given by the candidate is true. But who's going to check? Who's going to see? Who's going to scrutinize whether the information provided by that political leader are correct or not? As yet, we don't know if it has helped to decline in the influence of the rich and the criminal. This is the second one. The first one is the anti-defection law. The second one is to file an affidavit, to submit an affidavit. And the third is the Election Commission pass an order and necessary for political parties to hold their organizational elections. To hold their organizational elections. Number 3. Number 1, mentioned there, anti-defection law. Number 2, affidavit. Number 3, organizational elections. The Election Commission passed an order making it necessary for political parties to hold their organizational elections and file their income tax return. The parties have started doing so, but sometimes it is merely formality. It is not clear if this step has led to the greater internal democracy in the political party. The fourth reform. A law should be made to regulate internal affairs of the political parties. It should be made a compulsory for political parties to maintain a registers of its members, to follow its own constitution, to have an independent authority to act as a judge in case of party disputes, to hold open elections to the highest posts. This is the third one. To maintain a register, to register all the political members of the party. Fifth, it should be made mandatory for political parties to give a minimum number of tickets, about one third to the woman candidate. There should be a fixed quota for the women candidates in the political parties reserved, so that the women are encouraged, they are given opportunity to come ahead. There should be the sixth one. There should be state funding. State funding of election. The government should give parties money to support their election expenses, so that they may not make use of their muscle power and money power. The government should the government should give parties the money. They should provide funds to them to fight elections, and they have to take the account of that amount, whatever they are providing. This support should be given in kind, not in cash. Not in cash, but in kind, that is petrol, paper, telephone, etc. Whatever facilities they want, the facilities must be provided, but not the cash. Or could be given in cash on the basis of the votes secured by the party in the last election. This is the condition, this is the term, on the basis of the votes they have attained in the last election, the cash wo cash de sakte hain. These suggestions have not yet been accepted by political parties. If and when these are accepted, these could lead to some improvement, but we must be very careful about legal solutions to political problems. Over-regulation of the political parties can be counterproductive. This would force all the parties to cheat the laws. Besides, political parties will not agree to pass a law that they don't like. That is what I want to say, the willingness. Why they are going to pass such laws, why they are going to formulate such laws and rules and regulations which are going to hinder their functions. They are not going to pass such laws. The law which is still pending in the parliament about the reservation for the women, increasing the percentage of the women. There are two other ways in which the political parties can be reformed. One, the people can put pressure on political parties. This can be done through petitions, publicity and agitations. Ordinary citizens, pressure groups and movements and the media can play an important role in this. If political parties feel that they would lose public support by not taking up the reforms, they would become more serious about reforms. Two political parties can improve if those who want this join political party. The quality of democracy depends on the degree of public participation. It is difficult to reform politics if ordinary citizens do not take part in it and simply criticize from outside. It is up to the people, up to the educated mass, educated citizens of the country who decides it very carefully what to do and what not to do, how to support, how to criticize, how to participate in the reforms, how to participate in the politics, how to play their role in the politics. The problem of bad politics can be solved by more and better politics. We shall return to this theme in the final chapter. So this is an important question, that what are the steps taken or what are the reforms which are formed to improve the functioning of the political parties. That the second, another question, that what are the challenges which are faced by the political parties. The question number 3, important question, the political parties, their ideologies, how many national parties are there, on what basis the political parties decided whether it is a national party or a state party. Why political parties are required? These are few important questions which you have to study, take care of. Thank you. We are going to start the last chapter of your course, that is the outcome of democracy. With that, we are going to finish the course of civics.